All right, I have a bit of a confession to make. This is something I've been noticing in the last couple years, is that I have been getting a bit soft. I've been noticing it, like my pain tolerance as far as training. I'm not pushing myself quite as hard. I'm not actively doing the things that I don't like to do that are good for me, cardio, that kind of stuff. The real awakening was with boxing. Just my lung capacity isn't there. I'm not pushing myself as hard. So why does this scare the absolute bejesus out of me? Being soft is a very common thing in our society right now. Even the poorest, or at least even those at the lowest incomes, are living as good or better than kings were 200 years ago. They can get food on demand. They can be entertained with the flick of a button. They can contact their friends, via a phone, where you used to have to travel to go see your friends. They stay in climate controlled environments. I live in Calgary, Alberta, and it is minus 30 right now Celsius. I think it's minus 22 Fahrenheit, but I'm warm. We live in a society where everything can be done immediately, where we can get instant gratification, where our desires can be met immediately in the very moment that we think about them. So what this creates is people who are fragile. So if you've read Nassim Taleb's book, Anti-Fragile or Black Swan or Skin in the Game, he talks about fragility and not just being fragile or robust. Robust means you can withstand catastrophes, you can withstand hard times, but being anti-fragile is the goal. You want to be able to grow during hard times. So as humans, as a species, we're anti-fragile because we've, look at us. We started out as cavemen and now we're living in these climate controlled environments. But as individuals, we can be very fragile. So you have to really focus on what it means to be anti-fragile, to grow within catastrophe. And for me, one area of fragility leads to other area of fragilities. I think this is true with everyone. So if you have a low pain tolerance and you quit in physical tests, I think that quitting will translate over to adversity in relationships, adversity in business, adversity of all kinds. So I've noticed myself getting a little soft. I'm quitting a little too prematurely. I'm not giving 100%. I grew up with asthma, so I used to run for miles to try to train the asthma out of me, and I did. I was in amazing shape through hockey, basketball, and then boxing. So if I get out of shape, I think the asthma comes back, and it becomes tougher and tougher to get back in shape. You don't want to be soft. You don't want to be fragile. If you have any ambitions, any goals, anything, you want to be not only robust, but anti-fragile. You want to thrive when everyone else would quit. You want to thrive when everyone else would get down and depressed. Part of that is a mental game, but that mental game could be strengthened through physical tests. So there's a few things that I'm doing right now that I've brought into my life that are daily physical tests. Number one, again, it's minus 30 here right now, minus 22 Fahrenheit. I think that's what it is. Number one is I'm getting outside for 5 to 10 minutes without a shirt in the morning and just standing there. I'm getting extremely uncomfortable and I'm fighting that desire to open the door that's a foot behind me and go inside into this warm environment. There's health benefits to that. That could boost your metabolism. It could increase recovery. It could help with training, but the mental aspect is what I'm after most. So 5 to 10 minutes a day, depending on how cold, outside, no shirt, and just withstanding that. It ends up being painful, especially if it's windy. If it's windy, it can get to minus 50, minus 60 with the wind chill factor. Second thing I'm doing is the sauna. So saunas are relaxing, but you can get them to be pretty hot to the point where it gets very uncomfortable. I like that lack of comfort. I like that when it gets very uncomfortable, when it's you just start squirming, you want to get out of there. It's hard to sit still. So that is when it becomes a challenge of the mind. Will I stay there? I'll set my watch to 15 to 20 minutes, usually 20 minutes. Will I stay the entire time? Will I quit? Whatever. I don't quit, but it's a mental test to get to that 20 minutes. That's another thing I'm doing. The third thing I'm doing is adding running to my routine, running and sprinting. I haven't run in a long time, and running is just something I don't like to do, so I'm doing it. I'll do 10 minutes at a really good pace at an incline on treadmill. It's minus 30 out here right now. And then I'll do 5 minutes of 10-second sprints on and off. And by the end of that, I am just toast. So I'm going to increase that amount of time as I go on. I increase the intensity, increase the speed every time I try to run a further distance. And after a workout, after a 55 minute workout, it's pretty tough. So that's one thing another thing I'm adding. The fourth thing I'm adding, I realize I can't train like other guys. I don't want to just be strong or look a certain way. I want to perform a certain way. So I've changed my training from pure strength training to more of an athletic training. So there's things like plyometrics in there, cleans, Olympic lifts. There's circuits that go from lower body to upper body, which ends up taxing your cardiovascular system a little bit more. So the change of training is partially because I don't like that way of training, but it pushes me. There's a little point in each workout where you're like, nah, I don't really have to do that. So you do it anyway. Those are good tests. The final one is I'm adding sparring back in bit by bit, just because I think it's not great to get punched in the head. So you got to have a good sparring partner who's not gonna just unload on you, especially if I haven't sparred in 14 years or so. So just getting back into it is, you want to have a good sparring partner, but you know, that uneasiness of getting punched in the face. And for me, it's the lungs and the legs. So when you're sparring, it's different than doing pads. Pads is an insane workout, but when you're sparring, those lungs and legs get really taxed. And if you give in to the tiredness, then you get punched in the face, and that doesn't feel great. Or like almost worse, you get punched in the gut in a bad way. So those are the things I'm adding to my routine to help me avoid getting soft and fragile. The other aspect is the mental game. So you read some good stoicism books, Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and you really focus on taking accountability, doing what you say you're going to do, and not attaching meaning to things that don't need to have meaning. Just look at yourself as being lucky, and you will be lucky. The mental things are dramatically improved by the physical tests. So I highly recommend doing more things that you don't like doing. It doesn't feel great when you're doing it. Coming inside after being out in -30 feels amazing, but it doesn't feel great while you're doing it. But the benefits are that you don't like to do it and you do it anyway, and you eventually get to really enjoy it. So I highly recommend doing the cold therapy, getting in a hot sauna, doing cardio that is painful. That's the benefit of cardio for me, is that it's painful. You get to the point where your lungs are just on fire, your legs are on fire, and you've got to push through it. You want to do some kind of training that makes you want to quit. Changing my training up, adding some sparring in there as well is good. But if you find yourself getting soft, realize that it's not okay. You might be able to survive in periods like this if you're soft, because everything can be done on demand. But as soon as adversity hits, you're going to quit. As soon as things don't go your way, you're going to quit. So you take the toughness of these physical tasks and you add it to real life. So I've got goals with the company, with the Mita Nutra, and let's say things don't go well for a week. You don't get down. It's just a part of the process, and you keep plugging through. You keep trying to look for different ways to do things, different things to test, and you just keep on compounding that interest, compounding those work days on top of each other until you have a breakthrough. So that's a little confession. I found myself getting a little soft, and I realized it, and I'm adding everything I can to turn that around. And I'm obviously turning that around, but I highly recommend you do the same. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and just be self-aware enough and challenge yourself. If you find yourself blaming other people, blaming circumstance, blaming the government, blaming whatever, and not taking responsibility, that's a big sign you're getting soft as well. It's not just about the pain. So add a couple things into your routine, read some stoicism, and get after it. Take care.